Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. Takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, so I had 10 minutes of this upload recorded, and I just deleted it because I wasn't happy with how I was going about sharing what my conversation with a gentleman went like last night. I'm just going to share it with you guys how he shared it with me. And first and foremost, I consider myself a researcher. I have a YouTube channel. I like to share experiences, but I value research much more than experiences. To me, I love listening to people share their experiences with me because it gives me a chance to look deeper into areas that I may have not been familiar with before. And I'm guessing that's why a lot of you guys like hearing experiences and such. So the gentleman that I spoke with last night, his name's Scott. We'll just call him Scott. And he has been living in fear for 12 years, since 2013. Possible retaliation by the government. After he and I had talked for quite a long time, he said, "I hope you don't mind, but I changed my mind about you sharing this information." And I said, "Okay, not a problem." Instantly, my head is like, okay, now I am going to have to figure out an upload for tomorrow morning, because I was going to share his experiences with you guys. But I respect anonymity, and I respect the people's wishes that they have when sharing their experiences. It's not my experience. You have shared it with me. That's it. So he starts this conversation off with, "I'm going to go by Scott. I've lived in New Mexico all my life. I don't want you to share my real name, my real age, or even vaguely where I live. You can share where this experience happened, because I don't live even near there." I was like, okay, awesome. First and foremost, Jeff, you are absolutely right about New Mexico. It is a very eerie and supernatural state. The whole state can be classified as having some sort of paranormal or supernatural attachment to it. And my words back to him were, I am not the only person that feels that way. So I'm not going to take credit for anything. I'm just fascinated with New Mexico. It is a state that someday I hope to visit. I have some sort of attachment to this state. I've never been. I've been all across the East Coast. I've never been west. The furthest west I've been is Rochester, New York. And even when I lived in Florida for a couple months, I wasn't west then either. We were on the East Coast, my ex-wife and my two daughters. So I've never been remotely even close to that area, but I have this just attraction or attachment, fascination, whatever you want to call it. It is a very spiritual area, a very sacred area to the Native Americans that live in that area, and it has been for longer than the Anglo-European had come to this country. I believe that there are deep underground facilities. Notice I didn't say deep underground military bases, because I believe without a shadow of a doubt, the majority of the installations underground are or were built by alien/demon intelligence capabilities, whatever you want to call it. I believe that the northern section of New Mexico and the top southern part, or the bottom southern part of Colorado, I believe there is a deep underground installation right there, right? It extends from New Mexico into Colorado. I believe that there is a reason why our government chose to use that state as a nuclear testing facility or testing area. And some people may think that's a strange kind of idea, but here's why. We had testing sites set up away from mainland America, Bikini Atoll and other atolls, where we moved the native inhabitants there before testing our nuclear weapons. So what I do believe happened was they either used low powered nuclear or some sort of other device to create a distraction for underground drilling and explosions to create more of these facilities that are underground in New Mexico. And we talked about that, and he said that's a really interesting concept. I never thought about that. And I was just like, it doesn't make sense to me why we would, or why our government would even, we know how shady the government is, but are they that shady to where they would choose to wipe out? They didn't even know how these weapons were going to work. That technology, I believe, was given to us by the Luciferian agenda, the alien/demonic creatures, to our top scientists. And I believe that why would we? It just doesn't make sense to me at all. And the area where this experience happened, I have never heard of. I never realized, like, that strangeness, that power, that whatever you want to call it, is all throughout the state. Not just in Los Alamos, Taos, Dulce, which, interestingly enough, did you know, and I did not know this, and I've been researching Dulce for a long time now. Not as long as some of the greats that are in that bookcase up there, but for at least 10 years, and diligently researching it. Diligently researching Nephilim and all kinds of just strangeness. But Dulce means sweet, or calm, safe. There's a couple of different meanings to it, and I found that interesting. And he had shared that with me because of a location that he had been at when his experience occurred. And Dulce is in the name of one of the location trails he had been on. Dulce is almost all the way up to the top of, like, northwest, where he had his experience in Eddy County, is southeast. The furthest southeast, the furthest southeast, the furthest northwest areas. And he was in an area called Carlsbad Caverns National Park. There's another area that he had been in. He had been in this area for a couple of weeks, off and on, camping for a couple days, going back home, camping for a couple days, going back home. And Slaughter Cavern is one of them, but he had walked to an area called Agua Dulce Tank. And it's a trail system out there. And all that means is sweet water. So, I mean, you're talking about one of the most horrific deep underground facilities or installations. Level 6 and 7 are exactly what they are referred to as Nightmare Hall, Nightmare Fuel, and the Abyss. Level 7 is the Abyss. So it just doesn't make sense, that word fitting with what they have there. And it's gentle as well. Gentle could mean gentle. So, like I said, 12 years living in absolute fear and terror. Now, first and foremost, it's important to tell you this right off the bat. Like I said, living in fear for 12 years. He also is very close to passing away. He has melanoma on more than 60% of his body. He is what they consider to be almost stage 4. He's very sick. It was very hard to understand him at some points. And he believes that the year that he spent in this area is a direct result for that. The research that he had done down there. He was researching information for a book that he was going to be part of. The author they were writing a book on deep underground facilities. I will not say dumps. I do say it sometimes, but it's just, to me, a dumb would be something that's in Virginia. Something that has no alien involvement being built, you know? I believe that the majority of 90% of the deep underground facilities in New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, Colorado are created by alien/demon, part of that alien Luciferian agenda. Now, the author has since gone missing, per Scott. They were good friends, and that was part of the reason why he had been living in fear. Because after all of this year of research in this area, his friend had mysteriously just off the face of the earth. No one had seen him. Wife, kids, nobody. Like, had a house, had wife, had kids, had a life. Just swept under the rug somewhere. So, Scott is in this area, Carlsbad Caverns, Slaughter Caverns, which there is a wilderness study area out that way too, called Lonesome Ridge Wilderness Study Area. And all that is because I was confused. I'm like, what's a wilderness study area? And he's like, it's just a chunk of land that is of minimal size, but still has like use for recreation and human whatever, recreational area, nature preserve, but you can hunt and fish on them as well, I guess. Because I was like, what do they study there? And he's like, they don't. It's just, that's the name of it. And I'm like, okay, that's neat. Never heard of that. And he's out there. The first thing that he notices was he had been camping in an area just above the Carlsbad and Slaughter Caverns. At nighttime, it would go dead silent. Like, absolutely just silent for an extended period of time. And he would not hear anything. It was like, yes, there may have been a predator lurking in that area, but it was not making itself known. It wasn't coming closer to, his campsite, anything. Just if someone turned the TV off, And periodically, at his camp spot at night sometimes, and he would move the next morning, there would be always two, not a singular, but always in twos, what he called black government helicopters. And they would mess with him, spotlight him, fly really low as they could, above a wooded area. If he was just a little south in the Chihuahuan desert, they probably would, go right over his tent if they could. But they would just randomly at night always just kind of do a flyover it, but almost stop with that spotlight and just shine it directly on his camp area, his tent, his fire area, everything. And it was just so bright and annoying, I imagine, and terrifying to have two. So there was nights that they would just, fly over, and then nights where they would turn their spotlights on and go around and then just be gone. Like, just fly away. Usually to the northwest of where he was. Now, none of this made any sense to him, because why would blacked out government helicopters or military helicopters be flying above a single person's campsite who is researching some strangeness? There had also been times where he would be camping and hike back out to his vehicle, only to find his vehicle not functioning, not even turning over. Brand new battery, brand new this, just not working at all. And thank God that it was in a time of technology. In the area he was at, he did not get any cell signal, but he had a sat phone. So he would contact whoever need be to come and help him. Usually his vehicle taken to the shop would be fine. There was a couple times where a shop owner had questioned him, like, why are you bringing your vehicle here? There's nothing wrong with it. It starts right up. What are you talking about? All just really strange. Actually, there was one time, unexplainable times, that his vehicle didn't start. But there was another time where his tires had been slashed. The front tires of his vehicle just slashed dead flat, only having one spare. What are you going to do? So, just a lot of strangeness. And he couldn't figure it out, because only him and his friend, the gentleman that was paying him to research the area, knew where he would be. So, just really strange. He is looking to go into Slaughter Caverns. And I guess it's a very sacred area, Native American wise. Just below Carlsbad Cavern area, which is another sacred area for Native Americans. And he ends up finding another cavern, kind of almost in between the two. And he decided to go into it after hiking and finding it. And himself thinking that, maybe, just maybe, these caverns are, connected. We can get in, explore it. And he goes into this very strange, kind of weird cavern. It made no sense of how it sat. It wasn't just a hole in the ground where you could climb down into it. It wasn't set like a cave. where you could just walk straight into it. This was a very strange entrance to get in there. It literally had a 2 to 3 foot opening. And if you were not looking for a exhaust or an entrance, an exit, exhaust area, whatever, he believed that at this point he's thinking this is too small to be a natural cave. This is just too small. It doesn't make sense. Any of the openings in this area are large. This has to be possibly some sort of back area for whatever. He is already thinking that there is a deep underground facility in the area. Now, to get in there, you have to crawl on your stomach and then go straight down. So you have to have a lot of trust in yourself and a lot of will to do this. Crawls in and goes straight down. As he's going straight down, he comes to a large tunnel, which did not look naturally made. As he gets to the bottom of it, the first part of his body to touch would be his hands. He realizes, oh shit, and weasels his way and stands up. Now, he's gone caving for years, so it's not a new thing for him. He stands up and he's like, makes absolutely no sense. This is almost man-made. Look at this. I'm looking at, what looks like smooth walls, which does not look like Carlsbad nor Slaughter. Those are all stalactites and just mineral deposits. This was a smooth surfaced cave/tunnel. But once again, crawl on your stomach, go straight down, have faith that you are going to come to something. And, put all your cards in the basket on that one, which he did. So he proceeds to walk down this cavern. Now, this is about 6 to 7 months into his research in this area. He has already explored Slaughter. He has already explored Carlsbad. This is just something randomly that he found. Now, like I said, weird things happening. Blacked out helicopters. The woods going completely silent with not even a remote hint of a predator being around. No twigs snapping, nothing. No unexplainable howls. When he did hear them, they would be written off as coyote. But they sounded just like a coyote. So he never had any kind of strangeness up until this. This was the topper for him. He gets a distance in and realizes that he does not have enough juice in his headlamps nor his flashlights. He had been in this cavern area for about 45 minutes, and it was just this long, drawn out walkway. And like I said, smooth to the touch. Like it had been carved out, chiseled out precisely. He gets to this one area where he realizes, I've been down here for a while now. I got to turn around. It's, going to be dark here soon. Obviously, he's in a dark cave, but it's going to be dark outside when I get out. I want to be able to get, back to the campsite all right. And I don't like being in this area after dark. As he starts to turn around, he hears what sounds like flowing water, like a river or a stream. And he pauses briefly for a minute and listens and doesn't hear any kind of talking, any kind of anything. Just that strange kind of water. And he's like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. Document this and come back. Figure out what this all is. He proceeds, no issues, but the water thing just kind of struck him as odd. So he's walking out and he's like, all right, I'm going to make sure that I let my friend know about this, because this is definitely, when I say man-made, I just mean not of nature. It could have been whatever. And there's caverns and tunnels in Central and South America that are very similar to this that scientists have found. Some have large claw marks in them, which he's aware of. There's been documentation of it for years now. He gets out, climbs through, and he's out. And he's just exhausted, anxiety-ridden. And he's like, what the hell is... Gets out, boom, gets to his campsite. That night, the blacked out helicopters appear one more night before he leaves, leaving the next morning. And they have the spotlights on already, and they're flying kind of side to side. And they just, spotlights on, they go right over his campsite area. He's got a fire built. And shoom, shoom, just really fast. Not like the normal where they would center around his campsite. He goes back and tells his friend, the person that's writing the book, the person that is responsible for sending him to this area. He's getting paid to do the research as well. So it's technically his job. He lets his friend know everything. And he's like, I'm going to go back in a couple weeks and we'll figure this out. But notation, these helicopters are really making me just not want to go back out there. I can deal with the complete silence. I can, whatever. And he lets him know, goes back about 3 weeks later. And he's bound and determined to go in this cavern area early morning. Everything's charged. Everything's got new batteries. Everything's set to go. He, after talking to his author friend, decides that what I'll do is I'm going to take some photos of the walls. I will take some videos of the walls where I'm rubbing my hand, showing you exactly how smooth these are. The entrance, and you can't tell me this entrance does not look like it's some sort of exhaust area for a deep underground facility. It's like he's going through this kind of back section to this building. Goes down there. Helicopters aren't there the first night, which was a little eerie for him. And the noise, just silence again. Gets up in the morning, ready to go. Goes to the tunnel. Finds it, goes in, done. But he realizes something, that it looked like someone or something had tried to camouflage the entrance to this small little tunnel. And he kind of off by that. He's like, maybe it is a government facility. Maybe that's why the choppers are going over. Yada, yada. Gets to that location where he heard the water and proceeds to go further and further. As he rounds this smooth kind of walkway, hallway, bended area, pitch black except for his headlamp and a flashlight, he's confronted by essentially a set of these very strange bluish eye shine. At first, he thought it was almost two people coming through with flashlights. They were bright and they were blue. They were not red, yellow, just this weird blue. And he's taken back immediately. Like, oh shit, what is this? As he stops and looks, he hears that just really strange water sound again. And he's like, where is that coming from? He's like, realizes that it's coming from behind him. But he's already been there. So he had not seen any kind of stream or any kind of water source. But he's conflicted now because he's dead ahead is a set of these just deep, eerie looking blue eyes. And then he sees, what he sees next is it goes from 7 to 8 feet in height to 2 to 3 feet in height. No noise, no anything. And it shifted to a smaller 2 to 3. And it went up the side of the wall. He watched how the eyes were looking straight like mine are to you right now. But then on the side of the wall, looking straight at you, but to the side. So instead of, the eyes being like this, they're like this now. So horizontally. And then upside down. And facing this way now. And he just stops. Like, what the shit did I just see? Here's a loud shriek. And it just kind of scurries around the hall, the walls, drops back down, gets to its normal height, and shoots the other way. Just rapidly. Or it was still in the darkness that his flashlight and headlamp couldn't catch. Instantly, he starts running after it. no idea why. To his own account, I have no idea why I started to run after this thing. But for it being that strange kind of, none of it made sense. He's hauling ass after this thing, and it makes out another shriek, but it's coming from a distance now, and he's realizing that this thing is just maybe 50 to 100 feet ahead of it at all times, ahead of him, and then keeps getting further and further until he comes to that sound of water. And what he sees is this kind of strange kind of sewer tunnel, or what are they called? Not cauldron. Jesus. A sewer tunnel, because that's exactly what it is. And he's like, where did this thing go? Did it go in there? He looks in, flashlight, headlamp, doesn't see anything. Looks ahead. But he smells this weird kind of smell. This urine, fecal, but with kind of a sweet kind of smell. A very, like a sickening death smell that's just really strong on the nose. And he realizes that this, because there's no sound of it anymore, that this would be some sort of, like I said, sewage tunnel. So wherever this pipe went would lead them to a deep underground facility. But he's now more interested on the fact that this creature, or whatever it is, just was standing 7 to 8 feet in height, dropped to 2 to 3 feet in height, and did a complete 360 on the wall and shot away from him. He's not thinking, oh shit, there's a sewer drain here. Maybe I should look into this. As he's running after this thing through this tunnel, he's starting to think about the drain, whatever drainage that is. And he's trying to, or he comes to the realization that maybe I can go up in there and follow that, crawl through it, crawl through it, and get to wherever it would lead. But he's also thinking about the dangers of it. Because what if it leads to, whatever, some sort of, who knows? And he visibly can see that this smooth tunnel is coming to an end. And that creature with those blue eyes is not there. And he's standing like 20 feet away from the wall. He is looking at it, trying to figure it out where this thing went. He's looking all around. He can't see. There's no little tunnels off of it. And seconds later, there is this bright flash. This just lights up the whole tunnel. Hits his eyes. He's blinded. Like, it is almost like someone took the brightest light bulb and you're in pitch black and turns it on. He stumbles back and falls and hits his head The next thing he realizes is he's getting dragged by his feet. His headlamp is off or broken, and so it's essentially off. Flashlight is still in his hand. He doesn't want to say anything because he does not know what has his legs. And he quickly just turns the flashlight on, and he is getting dragged by these two abnormally skinny, emaciated, pale white, translucent, almost translucent. You could see the veins, the very veins, the essence of these things' life throughout their body. The skin was so just strange looking, almost like what certain fish and certain insects look like when underground. They automatically, or not automatically, eventually through evolutionary changes of being underground, their pigments change. They don't need different, their eyesight's different. There's all of these strange creatures. There's new fish being discovered in caverns all the time. Just strange creatures. And they turn and look at him. Both heads simultaneously look at him and let out this shriek, growl, and they both drop his legs and turn around and run toward him. They are now face to face, one on one side of him, face to face looking down at him. And he smells that sweet, sickening stench. He doesn't smell the urine. He doesn't smell the fecal matter, the whatever kind of gross smells that was attached to that when he was by that sewer drain. But he smells that, and it's coming from these creatures. They let out a scream again, like inches away from his face. And he smells that smell. And he plays dead. Because at this point, he's like, I'm going to get killed. I might as well just play dead. That way, maybe they just run the other way and leave me here. They grab his feet again and start pulling him. The next thing he sees is another bright flash of light, and they pull him into this chamber. It is almost like a white rock, very similar to marble, but not, almost like smooth calcium deposits from stalactites being underground, but it's smooth and it's huge. It's just this huge white room. And they run off and do exactly what that thing with the blue eyes did. These things have no nose, no any kind of features on their faces. Just these huge mouths that, if they had ears visibly, the mouth would extend ear to ear. And they run up the walls again and just shoot. He's laying there and he looks up and they just run above him using no logic of gravity. It's like these things are just running across the ceiling of this tunnel, cavern area. What the hell? Everything's smooth. And he sits up because he's now like, what did just happen here? And two military looking, they were not in any kind of military uniform, but the way their stance was, their dialect, their wording of words, everything spelled government/military spooks, like whatever the hell, and they say his name, they tell him his address, they mention his friend's name, his address, and they say, you were never here. How did you find this place? They start grilling him. And he's not saying a word. He's just confused. One, he's already smacked his head. He's had 2 terrifying run-ins with creatures that cannot be described. And, well, obviously, what I would say these other 2 would have been crawlers working for that agenda. They tell him that he is to leave and not come back, or there will be dire consequences. And they proceed to help him to his feet. They escort him to where that kind of turn happened. He sees a wall. He sees this rock wall. The first flash, they go through it, no issues, just he proceeds, he stops, and they say, keep going. And in his head, he's like, there's a freaking wall here, I can't walk through, and he's through the wall. And they turn around and they say, now leave, or like we said, there will be consequences for you, everything. Your family, your buddy, his family. Just tell him, get the hell out of here. He's out. He's back at camp. And he calls his best friend. And he tells him exactly what he saw. It all started with this weird shaped creature. None of this made sense. He goes back to his home, and then a month later goes back. This is his last trip to this location. He's geared up. The only difference of things that he has this time is a new headlamp, 2 better flashlights, and a handgun, a 40. And he goes into the tunnel. So he's at the wall waiting for this bright light, the last thing that happened the last time he had been there, months later. And he's like, maybe I can walk through it. He proceeds to try and walk through it, and he is face to face with this rock wall. All of a sudden, there is someone behind him telling him that he needs to take his pistol out of his backpack. He needs to turn around slowly and be escorted out of the rest of the tunnel. As he turns, it is those 2 very nondescript military looking, but not dressed in, 1, they're not in a suit and tie. 2, they are just not in any kind of uniform, but more or less like black long sleeve tee and cargo pants. Green or black, he believes. as they are aiming their weapons at him, he can't see. There's lights on him. He's full throttle hit. Boom. And knocked back to the back of that wall and on the ground. And above him, staring directly down at him, is another one of those creatures with that just foul, sweet stink. The whole body, it's just literally on top of him, looking down at him. All of a sudden they say something and it retracts and goes up the wall right above him and stays on the ceiling looking down at him as he is trying to figure out what just hit him. He's dizzy. It hit him hard when he hit. They said, "You didn't take our heed." One, how did they know? Or this is where he got freaked out. How'd they know my gun was in my pack? I wasn't telling anyone that, where I was going except my buddy. I let him know. Is he telling these people what's going on? No, he's just as enthused as I am when I'm sharing this information with him. What the hell is going on? They tell him now that because he didn't listen, there is going to be severe consequences. And to immediately leave. He's escorted out. Doesn't know, his head's bleeding because he hit so hard. Doesn't realize it. It's dark now. Dark. And he's got to walk back to his campsite. Gets to his campsite, passes out instantly. Hadn't eaten all day, hadn't drinking nearly any kind of water at all, just dehydrated, starving, drained of energy, drained of sleep, whatever. He passes out, wakes up the next morning, picks up his camp, and leaves. As he's heading out, he calls his best friend to let him know what just happened. He doesn't answer. He drives to his best friend's house and is told that he's not there. His wife can't find him. He hadn't been home in a day or two. We don't know what's going on. This and that. We called the police. And he's like, all right, well, if you hear anything, let me know. The police contact him, talk to him. He's 2 hours away from their house. A good 4 or 5 from the Slaughter and Caverns and the Carlsbad. Questioned by those police officers, he lets them know some bullshit story. And waits 2 weeks, not any kind of mention of where his best friend is. Wife doesn't know. No one knows. And he goes back to that cavern, only to be disappointed because now the entrance is sealed with what looks to be cement. How did whoever these people were get enough cement to dump right there and fill up this cavern hole with it? Confused, heartbroken, just heartsick for his best friend, worried. He proceeds home, doesn't even stay, just leaves. And none of it made any sense to him. His best friend has been missing. All of everything that happened. And then between 2013 to 2025, his body started to weaken. He started noticing severe pains, drained of energy, and finally goes and gets tested, and he's got melanoma, is covering like 20% of his body at the time. And it's just rapidly getting worse. Rapidly. And since that, there has never been no hide or hair mentioned of his, he doesn't know where his best friend is. The research that he did down there is void. Nothing makes any sense to him. And he just starts to question everything, but hold on to his own experience because he doesn't know, with all the strangeness and whatever. And now he's slowly dying. So he believes that whatever was in that tunnel system, whether it might have been that bright flashes, or he just doesn't know. None of this makes sense to him. He knows for a fact, though, that the government is behind it all. Or these things are the creature that attacked him with that sweet, sickening, just disgusting smell was a demon. Just none of it makes sense to him. And he's dying, which is tragic. So you have some sort of crawler creatures, some sort of creature that doesn't resemble a crawler, but can almost do the exact same thing that can. And none of it. Just, he's done. It's sad. These creatures are there. They're alien creatures genetically. Did they purposely make him sick to shut him up, only to realize that whatever happened didn't cause enough damage to his cells? But he is dead certain that these bases, these underground facilities in New Mexico, are run by the Luciferian agenda, which just none of it. It's sick. So I hope that I'm able to talk to him one more time, because he was really a cool dude, like really a cool guy. But I don't know. I don't know if I will be able to. So part of him believes that there is some sort of underground trail system or cavern system that goes from Carlsbad Caverns area to this area called Alamo Gugu or Goy, which is another one of these study wilderness areas. Apparently that area means hollow poplar or hollow tree. He believes there is some sort of, because he looks at maps and he looks at all this and he's like, why is there a wildlife study area here on this side and another on that side in the boot heel of New Mexico? Anyway, with that, I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.